Hey there! Thank you for joining me in this Quicken Mac tutorial video. Continuing on my new Mac series here, which a lot of people ask for. So I am going to be talking about kind of mass categorizing your transactions after you download them for the first time, and just show you some tools here in the Mac on how to do it quickly and efficiently. But while I have you, real quick before we start the video, just wanted to say if you like my content, please do the like and subscribe thing. We also recently relaunched our main course called the Financial Independence Roadmap 2.0 Masterclass. It's basically a course in doing personal finance from top to bottom, including all the tracking and everything with Quicken. But beyond that, just kind of learning the tenets of personal finance, future planning, income generation, investing, tax planning. It touches on all those things and tries to bring it all together in a nice, easy to follow package. And then lastly, I wanted to let you know that I set up some paid tiers on YouTube for some more advanced Quicken videos, and then also a tier where if you're part of that, you can request a video and I will prioritize making that. So check that out, and I'll see you in the video. Thanks. Here we go. So I'm doing this kind of sample file here, sample database file, which I originally set up back in November, which is why these transactions go from October to November. But admittedly, there's not a lot of transactions in these few accounts that I'm going to use to do my example, but I think there's enough to explain it and then also make it kind of quick. So this video doesn't go on forever. Now I went and grabbed some transactions from just a few of my accounts. So I could illustrate this. Here I have a business account. So I got a lot of, luckily you'll see income and not a ton of expenses. I don't actually have a ton of expenses in this particular account, to be honest, but I think it'll be enough to illustrate. So once you download, you're gonna see all these transactions and they'll probably be marked by this blue mark here. So this indicator indicates whether or not you've reviewed or sort of processed a transaction or not. Now, quick note here, there's a new setting in Quick Mac, fairly new setting that says if you go here to General, Auto Review, and it says Mark Updated Transactions as Reviewed. And what that means is if you edit the transaction in any way, essentially interact with it, the blue dot's going to go away. And what that means is when the blue dot goes away, it means you've reviewed the transaction. And that might seem like a simple thing, but it is kind of helpful to have some marker that shows you that you have kind of dealt with a transaction or not, or I guess reverse way of saying that the transaction is new and you have yet to deal with it. Now, in the Windows version, it actually is what I call a little holding tank where transactions come in and sit in there and kind of gives you an opportunity to look at them before they go in the register. But the Mac just piles them in the register. And the only, distinction it gives it is this reviewed or not reviewed, this little blue dot. So you might find that handy just to contemplate that. But this new setting that I told you about really is helpful because otherwise, you used to have to manually select them all and mark them as reviewed, and it was dumb. So obviously Quicken caught on to that. Okay, so first thing I want to point out here is in this bar above here, if you right click it, you can click on more columns to show stuff. So a lot of times out of the gate, Quicken will not have a few things on. It'll look like this. Let's see, payment. It might be kind of limited, like payee category, clear. This is important. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then it'll just show the amount and then the balance. So when you use amount versus payment and deposit, you get a positive or negative number for deposit or expense. I like to take amount off and put on deposit and payment because I like to be able to quickly see that something's a payment or deposit. And then the other main thing you want to put on is the Quicken name. in the Windows version, just FYI, if you've used that, it's called downloaded payee. I don't know why they call it Quicken Name, but what Quicken Name is the information that's coming through from the bank download. And basically, Quicken uses that information to like convert it into like a simpler name using a renaming rule. I'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. But this bit of information, again, is the downloaded data from the bank that shows what this transaction is. And sometimes it's like very clear, and other times it's like garbledygook. And you might need to figure out, do a little bit of quick, I don't know, remembering, or go to your bank to double check what something is. But most of the time it will have some kind of name in there, some kind of descriptor in there that'll show you what that is, and you'll go, okay, cool, I know what that is. And then you can categorize from there. Now, I'll point out that over time, you want to train Quicken so that it's easier to use. And the way you do that is through this area, payees and rules. Basically, you can set up Quicken to have rules that say, hey, when something comes down and it shows this Quicken name, I want you to change the name to this simpler name or clearer name, and then categorize it to this. And that's the automation function that you want. Quicken has built in, but you really need to put some time into setting up well and training Quicken, as I call it. Now, the thing is, though, Quicken will, out of the box, just try to do some automatic stuff for you and automatically categorize things. And sometimes it gets it right, but sometimes it gets it wrong. And the fact that it gets it wrong can almost cause you more grief. So you have to just pay attention a little, especially at the beginning. Make sure it's doing it the way you want, and then change any rules or overwrite any rules, that it's for things that it's doing correctly. Okay, so ultimately, I should also say, our goal here when we do this is to get all of our data into a report, okay? And what you're going to see here is, I just want to bring up the basic cash flow report, which is kind of like our main report. And as you categorize things, you're going to see that this report, keeps getting more detailed. Right now, there's a lot of stuff that is uncategorized because it's a fresh download. There's a lot of stuff in this category transfer, which I'll explain quickly, probably incorrectly. And I won't explain it incorrectly. Probably stuff is in here incorrectly. And then, this credit card payment thing I'll explain too. But as we fill in our categories more and more, we'll move stuff out of uncategorized, and it'll start to get put into the correct area. So, and then it's also worth noting probably now that the way you design your categories in Quicken translates into your report. Okay, so I have a certain design of categories that produces the most easily readable report for me. So what you'll find is that you categorize a bunch of stuff using Quicken's out of the box categories, and the report looks a certain way, and you go, wow, that's helpful, I like that, but it really would I'd prefer it if the report looked like this. And very likely you can make it look that way by designing your categories using higher categories and subcategories. Unfortunately, if you watch my Windows video, I talk about in the Windows version category groups, which is an additional kind of way to help organize your categories and subsequently your report. But Quicken Mac does not have category groups, which is kind of a bummer. Okay. So I'm just going to go into now here. I'm going to go back in and just start kind of categorizing things. So opening balance, by the way, where we generally categorize that is into the category we are in. And that is the only time we ever do that. You never categorize anything else to the category you are in. And you will find sometimes that Quicken out of the gate initially will put stuff in that category that from the register you're in, and that's incorrect. And I don't know why it does that. I wish it didn't. But the opening balance we put in there, what that does is sort of makes it disappear in the reports. Technically, it's not gone from the system. We've logged it sort of as a transfer to itself. So if in the reports I went and turned on show transfer, I'd see it. But generally by default that's off, and that means in the report this transaction basically disappears. To put it in a little bit of QuickBooks or business books analogy, like in QuickBooks, you wouldn't be able to do that. You would have to put any opening balance to opening balance equity, and it would sit on the balance sheet as equity to the owner. I find that like annoying. I would be annoyed if I couldn't just kind of make it disappear in Quicken, and Quicken allows you to do that. Quicken sort of breaks some of it's basically double entry accounting, but it breaks some of the tenets, or allows you to break some of the tenets of double entry accounting, which actually is super handy and makes it easy for you to create reports and have a lot of flexibility. But sometimes, it can throw you off a little at times. Okay, so I'm going to go down the line here. Stripe here. So this to me is like some Stripe income for my website business. And I'm going to categorize that to business income. We'll call it product sales. I got another one here. Now, I'm going to start showing you some tricks. So there are two things here from Stripe, okay? I can shift click them both, right click, edit transaction, and change them both at the same time, okay? So that's one trick. I'm going to change them both, and there we go. Now they're both categorized to where I want them to be. You may have noticed that there are other things I could do here as well. If I wanted to, at the same time, change the payee name to Stripe-based income, or, it's not, this is a good, lesson in nomenclature. Like, I'm just generally calling it Stripe income. Technically, it's not. It's product income, but, so you can kind of make the pay whatever you want. Maybe you make it for what just makes sense to you. Some people are a little more neurotic and they want to be very deliberate about what they name things. But I'm just going to call it Stripe income for the sake of this. Here, in Quicken Home and Business for Mac, you set up your different businesses, and here I have two of just consulting and then rental properties. By putting it under this category, which again is like my layout of categories, it automatically gets associated with the consulting business. But at first, you might first want to choose the business, and I don't know, just kind of find your way around. You can also add a tag to this. Like if I wanted to create tags, are a way to further subcategorize things, or you can use tags as like a way to search things, or you can use tags as a way to alter your reports. There's multiple ways you can use tags. If you wanted to add a tag here, you could. And then you hit OK, and now look, the pay has changed and the Quicken name has changed. So I'm going to go down here. Let's see. Now Gusto, that's my payroll service. Some of you may have watched my Gusto video, but that's my payroll service, and I would categorize that to payroll fees, right? So Quicken here has categorized it to miscellaneous expenses, but I know I have a category, I believe, called payroll fees. Oh, actually, I don't in here. I'm thinking to my own personal Windows version. Yeah, I have more limited business expenses in this sample file. So yeah, we'll call that miscellaneous expenses. Oop, what happened there? I actually unchecked that. You can either type in or you can use the drop down. You'll find that eventually it gets either type in. Now when you just click off it, it changes. Now you might have noticed the fact that I edited these. Look, my blue dot is gone. So now I kind of at least have this reminder that I've edited, certain categories. So the categorization is obviously quite simple. Your challenge in the very beginning, especially if you're deciding to go back like a year and try to download a whole bunch of stuff, is you're going to have a ton of categories. So a couple ways, other ways we can make it a little bit easier is you can use this here to filter categories. Okay. Right there. So that's one way to filter, and then you could shift select right there. Let me see if I can find something that's a little better. We'll go, let's see if I can do Zell in here. So here, I have some Zells. Two of them are income, ironically, and one is to a person. So these Zells, these are payments that I received via Zelle. Quicken put it in the category transfer. That is incorrect. So I can shift click, edit those. Payee, I don't know, I'll change that to payment from Barf Inc. Yes, I have a client that has the company name Barf Inc. Pretty funny. And the category for this is income, and we'll say service revenue. Okay. Now I've categorized those. Now I happen to have this one here. This is a Zelle payment to a person, an outside contractor. So what do I have in here for business expense here? Business activity expenses. We'll say professional service and legal fees. So now I've categorized those, and then go back over here, and you're going to see that those now have the dot missing where they should. Yes, they do. Okay, good. So another thing I want to point out in terms of filtering, so I showed you that we can just put in a keyword here and filter, and it's filtering this register. But over here we have some other filters that may or may not help you. Like we could filter by status, type, so we could just filter all the income or all the spending. We could filter by status, which is, that relates to cleared, this part here. By the way, you're going to notice that, everything that comes down from the bank is going to have this cleared, this blue check mark. That means that it's cleared the bank. Actually, that should have a check mark too. If I add a new transaction that, has not come through the bank yet, we're going to see that that is uncleared. And then once we go reconcile, this is going to turn a green check mark. So this status here is a way to filter for cleared, uncleared, and so on, reviewed, not reviewed, and whatever. And then over here, you could do date. And then over here, you're going to see that it will filter for spending or income and also give you some reports related to that account. But, mostly just using this or these three things, or even just, again, sorting is the way to kind of filter things pretty well and be able to pick up things as a group and edit. All right, moving on. So I want to talk a little bit about the fact that Quicken has put automatically a bunch of these things in this account transfer. So I'm going to do a video just about transfers, but transfers are, like just what you think when you transfer money from one account to another. This will happen mainly in two ways. You'll pay a credit card, right? So credit card payment is a transfer to another account. It's not spending or making money. Or when you transfer money to a savings account, for example, that's a transfer, right? So you can do transfers two ways. You're not making or spending money, right? So you want to make sure that you're not reflecting those things as making or spending money. So in here, we go to in here, and there's a setting called transfers, allow the creation of linked transfers using category fields. I have this on because it's the way I like to do transfers. And what that means is I have a test credit card in here, right? So let's go look at this Capital One payment. Quicken has this categorized to credit card payment, okay? This is actually the same thing as what the transfer category is. I guess I'll just explain it. Let's imagine you pay your credit card, you pay it out of this account, the money goes into the other account. You're going to have two transactions that have downloaded. You're going to have the bank sending the money out, that's a transaction, debit. Then you're going to have the credit card receiving the money, that's a transaction, income or credit. You categorize those both to credit card payments, and in your reporting, they zero each other out, right? Because no money has been spent or made there. You just send it from one account out to another account in, and it's a $0 net transaction. That's a transfer. So in this case, Quicken gives you the option of, hey, we have this category called credit card payment. You could put everything in there and it will zero each other out. Or we could do this. We could just, instead of that, we could transfer the payment over to the credit card, right? And then that will make a corresponding, credit in the credit card. Here, let me put on charge and payment. And we have the deposit here. And then what would happen is when you have a transaction, that same credit card payment come through the credit card download, it just matches with the thing that's there. So that's the difference of a transfer. Now you could also, just going back using the credit card, you could actually just put all these things in transfer, too, if you wanted. The credit card payment category, the transfer category, they're doing the same thing. One is just kind of for bank account transfers and one's for credit card payments, but they're the same thing. So, but back to this, Quicken, for some reason, it'll try to help you, and it's like, hey, I see this whole thing here. I don't know what this is, Business Papers Inc., but I'm going to just say transfer. I'm going to say that's a transfer. That's not a transfer. That's income. So I have to change that. Now, what I can do is, back to over here, my payee names and renaming rules and quick fill rules. This is where you kind of train Quicken a little bit. I'm going to change this to this payee name to business income. Okay. And Quicken's doing a couple of things here. It's saying, hey, I see a bunch of these things with this similar downloaded payee name. Do you want me to change all of these? I could say yes if I think they're all correct. So yeah, I'll say yes. I'm going to rename them, but you may or may not want to. And then that should automatically create a renaming rule, which is this. And so now I've told Quicken, hey, anytime you see this kind of thing here, we're going to change that payee to business income. But this rule, I'm going to do another video on renaming rules. You got to be a little cautious about like just assuming Quicken makes the renaming rule really good. Really, it should be if something like this is better. If statement name contains, you can choose the right words and then change it to income. You'll have a little better renaming rule there. There is a setting here that we want to make sure we have good. Automatically create rule when I correct a payee name. That should be on, and you could have it to be existing and future transactions or just future. And you can also automatically create a rule when I edit a transaction when saving quick fill rules. So this allows you to automatically have deliberate moves you make be saved. Okay, I don't know, maybe I'm a little off topic here. So I'm going to switch back to just more easily categorizing things, but I'm obviously trying to show you the different bogeys that sort of show up. Another way to kind of easily group things together is to just sort by these columns, okay? So in this case, I'm sorting by the Quicken name. Oh, I see like a whole bunch of Stripe things. And Quicken said transfer to a bunch, but I'm going to say, no, I don't want those to be that. I want them to be Stripe income, and then we have a category. product income. There you go. So now I've done a bunch there. Now, now I noticed though, I'll tell you this. When I do, you might have noticed when you do a group change like that, not always does the blue thing go away. It goes away when you do one thing, but not always when you do a group. Like, look, I noticed down here too, this barf one that we changed as a group didn't change. So if you notice that, you can just mark them as reviewed yourself. You could highlight, right click even. You could set the status as reviewed. I also noticed, just FYI, when you do a group renaming, you select a bunch and you do a group renaming, it doesn't create a renaming rule actually. It only will create a renaming rule when you do it one at a time. So let's just say, I don't know, impact, we'll change this to income. And that should have created a renaming rule. Let's see, right there. And then I could edit that. And if I want to, if I like it, if it says, impact radius desk, it goes to impact, and that probably will work. But if I want to edit it, and maybe I don't want the desk part in there, whatever, I can change it. Where you might want to change it is a lot of times, you spend money at a place and it's like, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, and then it's store number 55523. And then you go to a different Chick-fil-A and it's store 55297. Well, if you do a renaming rule that includes that original number, it's only going to rename everything with that number. But if you make a renaming rule that removes the number part and it's just wherever you see Chick-fil-A with the gobbledygook, change it just to Chick-fil-A, that's what you would want, because that way it'll change all of them. So that's a lot of the automation too, like resolving the fact that the Quicken name or downloaded bank name, or what it calls here as statement name, a lot of that is just, hard to decipher, and the rules make it easier. And then the other aspect of this is you, do the renaming rule, and then you say, hey, for that payee, impact income, that's always going to be categorized to, actually, you don't want to put it, it's in quick fill rule, excuse me. You're going to always categorize that to business activity, income, product sales. So now I have like a tool rule combo. I have first, if you see something in the Quicken name this, change it to this, and then if you see that, categorize it as this. That's training Quicken. Okay. Inevitably, we're going to go through and try to categorize all this stuff. And then once you do that, you're going to notice that your report is getting more filled out. Okay. Well, I should say while I'm looking at here, Quicken, it does transfers in and transfers out, and credit card payments and credit card. It shows the inflows of the credit card payments and the outflows. This is another reason I like to make things transfers, because this whole thing will disappear. You won't have this basically useless expense category in your report and income category. It'll just be like nothing. So that's actually a good reason to like kind of not use their transfer or credit card payment category, because while it does zero itself out, if once you get everything in there, it shows you the income and expense in the report, which is useless. I'm going to do another video strictly about transfers that will be a little shorter. That'll show you how when you change something to a transfer to an account, how you link up on both sides and make sure that you don't end up with duplicates, because you can. Okay. So there you go. So you're going to just go through all of your transactions and you're going to get them in the right category, and then you can see your report will continue to change and get more correct over time. While you're categorizing, you're going to be conscious of renaming rules that maybe you've done. You want to take the time to make sure they're right, and the more you refine those, the more quick this process is going to be. That's what I got for now on the categorization. Hopefully that was helpful and not completely confusing. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks.